Greetings everyone, welcome to my sketchbook. In the last video I was drawing a picture as it related to porch geese or creatures like that. And anyway, I sort of had this idea to have a mother goose with two little goslings, and that sort of made me think, well, of the Canadian actor Ryan Gosling. And I kind of think that perhaps these could be the Gosling children, only I would like this to be Mandy, and this would be Ryan, which would I think would be kind of funny. So I'm going to kind of change a couple of things with that, and then maybe do another drawing related to that. So let's see what we can do. I did open up the inkwell there. What would happen if I got in here and made a bit more of a bow, maybe? So I don't really have to do a whole lot in my brain with this. I'm going to have kind of like a little flower here, I think. And maybe, I'm going to use the bunny pen here. I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit. And I'll change this to kind of a purpley color, I think. So I have pink going on top of the blue. Just like that. And for fun, now let's keep the pink going, I think. I'm going to move in here towards this flower. So what I'll end up doing is on the original video, the last video, which was like an hour long before it shut off because of a lack of storage space. Yeah, no, I was just kind of playing around with different ideas. So let's say this is Baby Ryan. So yeah, I'm going to change the thumbnail, I think, just for fun. And this I'm going to change to a kind of a bluish, purplish thing. That way it kind of keeps a little bit of neutrality. But I want this to be a little more bluish, just for fun. So let's pretend that this is kind of like a family outing. Ryan's mother, his name is Donna. So I did a little bit of research on this just for fun. And his father, his name is Thomas, which is also his middle name. But let's just for fun say that this is Donna taking her two little goslings out for a walk. There you go. So let's say that's Baby Ryan, and this is Mandy. There. All right, well, that takes care of that. As I said, I'm going to change that last video's thumbnail to kind of reflect that. Let's set these aside. Now here's the idea. Ryan Gosling is most likely to be the next Ghost Rider, which was once played by Nicolas Cage, or I should say was previously played by Nicolas Cage. And I thought, well, because I'm drawing geese-related things, and Ryan Gosling's last name is, well, Goose-related, what it would be like to have a goose as Ghost Rider. I don't know. Something to play around with. So let's see if we can come up with something. It's a kind of a weird idea. Let's see if it'll focus in on my finger just a little bit here. Okay. This is going to be a strange one, I think. Trying to think of how I want this to work out. So I'm going to kind of sketch out something here. It's okay if it doesn't really look like a goose, because we don't have to have it look like a goose, I suppose, but that's sort of the idea that I had in my head. And of course, the Ghost Rider's head is on fire, basically. Let's see. That might end up looking a little bit more like an eagle. We'll do what we can to make it not look too much like an eagle. I do think he'd make a pretty good Ghost Rider. He met Eva Mendes, and they've been together since 2011. They have 2 children together. She was in the 2007 Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie. From what I saw in the IMDb search that I did with that, she plays a character by the name of Roxanne Simpson. And yeah, anyway, so Ryan Gosling is also, he was in a movie called The Place Beyond the Pines, where he plays like a motorcycle stunt rider, much like Johnny Blaze of Ghost Rider. Now, let's see here. So I think it's going to be a kind of an interesting match. Why am I shaking this so much? I'm just trying to get some of the vertebrae. The neck. So geese have long necks. Ryan's a pretty awesome actor, and every so often, if he goes onto the red carpet, he was known for taking his sister Mandy along with him, so I think that's kind of neat. Let's see. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, whatever I have going on here. There's a name for doing like a personification of animals. It'll pop into my head in a moment. I believe it's partially based on what well, let me think, anthropomorphic. So that's kind of what I'm going to do with this. And perhaps in some way, because I've drawn Spawn before, and I think Spawn is sort of a combination of different characters in some ways. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but Spawn to me is kind of a little bit like Ghost Rider, a little bit like Spider-Man. Very different in how the character does stuff, though. But so let's see here. Now, I'll have some of the flame. Kind of work its way around the head a little bit. And I'm going to zoom in on that just a little bit. And I don't have to add tons and tons of detail because the heat coming off the head would make the center of the flame basically white hot. So like this kind of detail wouldn't necessarily be there. Maybe we can have some of the flame trail out. Let's see if we can get that to focus just a little bit more. Okay. Now, I don't know what makes certain things scarier than others. If you are a bad guy doing bad things, and by bad guy I just mean like anybody who does bad stuff, that can be any person. To think that perhaps something is out to get you retribution wise. Kind of like the Batman. Kind of makes you think perhaps you're doing the wrong thing. Let's try to make this a little bit angrier looking. Okay. Now let's see. Eva Mendes is a pretty awesome acting machine as well, although I don't know if machine is the best terminology. We don't really use actor and actress as much, I suppose, do we? As the profession is just acting, so an actor probably is best use, maybe. You can let me know in the comments. I haven't really researched such a thing. But I think that's sort of a common use thing now, more so. Now, the Ghost Rider, from my understanding, has more to do with repaying justice to those who've wronged the innocent. So, in some ways, I suppose, kind of an anti hero. Something that's kind of, well, not perfectly bothered me, but it's always been kind of a strange thing. Why does the Ghost Rider, in most of the things that I can kind of remember, have a chain that isn't just the motorcycle chain itself? That seems weird to me. Is it a detail thing, which I've talked about in other videos, like, to draw a bicycle chain over and over and over again, was that a nuisance? And then just having a block link chain, was that just way easier to deal with? Hmm. Now, I'm trying to think if I want the gloves, but I guess so. I'll figure out if I want to have spikes on that or not. Okay. Now, I think there are versions of the Ghost Rider that has spikes on the jacket. Some of them are pretty exaggerated. Probably don't feel a lot of pain when in this form. The Ghost Rider is a supernatural creature or personification, or anyway, you kind of had to make a deal in order to become the Ghost Rider. Stuff I'm not going to go into any detail about, much like Spawn would have had to have. Let's go with a kind of a pocket here. The jacket would be kind of twisted a little bit maybe. Now let's add a little bit more detail around here and then kind of finish this off, I think. It's just a concept idea. Just playing around here at the hand. Maybe figure out something with that in a moment. Okay, let's add some little flame detail stuff here. Maybe I'll revisit this one with a bit more detail at some point in the future. If that's necessary. Now, I think one of the powers that Ghost Rider has is that he can look into your soul and see the wrong that you've done. Which is a remarkable thing, I suppose, if you're handing out retribution. I'm kind of doing a light scalloping, I suppose. Which is that sort of a curled, overlapping kind of teardrop look. Kind of a hot rodder thing, I think. All right. For fun, I'm going to have the bunny pen here, and I'm going to add some flame detail stuff. So I'm going to keep the skull, for the most part, white, and then add in bits of yellow, kind of partway through the flame head, and then I'll have it go orange and maybe a little hints of blue in there too. This is really just flame referencing, I suppose. And maybe some red. Nicolas Cage, of course, is in Spider-Man Noir, which is part of the Marvel, well, yeah, it is Marvel, Spider-Verse, so that's kind of neat. He was fantastic as the Ghost Rider. Let's go to orange next, and just away from some of the yellow that I did. Okay. Now it would be interesting and better if the background was dark, and yeah, I don't know if there's something else that I want to do with this, because we're at 26 minutes. I don't want to drag this out too much, I don't think. Let us do a little bit of outlining here. See if we can keep some of the form of this fist. Like that. I'm going to zigzag a little bit of ink through here. Well, I should say not so much zigzag. Let's call it streak. Some of that in. And because I'm right-handed, I'm kind of going from left up to right. And by tradition, you wouldn't go through this much hassle. You would probably spend some time with a much bigger brush or marker. But I want there to be a bit of a contrast between what is burning and what is not. In the background, we don't need to have filled in. I'll only go to a certain point, I think. Then I'll be crafty, and I will use brush and water, and I will kind of fill this out just a little bit. Now, some parts of this will also be blacked out because it is a black jacket. And I'm going to semi-assume that the gloves are black as well. So some of that will be quite a bit darker. The head will light up the forearm and not so much the underside. Let's move this along a little bit more. I kind of keep it boxed in just a little bit. And there's been a few different Ghost Riders. There was one that I wasn't really familiar with until I saw the character on, what was it, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was, I believe the last name was Reyes. But he drove a car instead of a motorcycle. And it was pretty cool. Now we're going to try to do a little bit on this side. And we're not going to go as far over. I didn't do anything with the other arm. Anyway, the other Ghost Rider and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That was pretty cool. You don't get a whole lot of sort of like main character stuff that happened on that show. Like these are, I'm not saying they're all truly background, but like Coulson appeared in the MCU, and Agent Coulson, and had a run-in with Loki. I'm not going to give anything away with that encounter. I'm going to have to do something a little bit with this arm, though, I think. Let's just put in some rough stuff going on here, just so that we can finish off this square. All right. Folds of material. Kind of go the opposite way, I think. A little messy. All right, now let's see if we can get through this part reasonably fast. Have a cup with some water in it. I have my #1 detailing brush here off to one side. I went dark there. I'm just going to go a little bit darker around this part here, because I'm about to move a fair amount of ink. Let's see if I can do it reasonably fast. Oops. Okay. Maybe I can keep some of the streakiness in there too. Kind of scooting around a little bit here just to not get some of the Goose Rider, which is what I'm sort of but not really calling this. Yeah, now I'm not really sure if the rest of the cast has been decided and who the bad guys are supposed to be, if it's going to be a true standalone movie, if it's going to be, which I kind of presume, it's not good to presume, but, or if it's going to be an introduction through another movie. So sometimes when you're just playing the character, you might just show up. I don't know, it's another Spider-Man movie or something. So I don't know if it's going to be like a Sony thing or Disney thing. Ryan's been involved in Disney production type stuff before. I forget if he was a Mouseketeer or some other variant of that sort of club. I believe he and Timberlake were performers together. I remember reading a story, and I think I mentioned this at some other point, where Ryan Gosling might have like crashed on the Timberlake's couch while being a performer for the Disney folks, for the House of Mouse. I don't know where I would have got that information from. Maybe like one of those, I don't know what they call them, entertainment magazine like shows. Which sometimes can be more like a vulture, the way they get their information, and they just, I'm not always impressed by that sort of thing. But as I said, I got to look at IMDb. It's weird to have someone's personal information just kind of known. You know, like, maybe it's kind of fun too, I don't know, to have people that don't know you wish you a happy birthday, I guess, or, you know, they know when your kids' birthdays are, or things like that. I don't really know if that's a great thing. I think for the most part, Ryan and Eva Mendes' relationship is pretty private, which in Hollywood is a pretty remarkable thing. Now, I'm kind of finishing up the last part of the outside of this. Just like that. And that water is going to be in need of a change, which is good. I go back in, and I'm going to add just a little bit more detail, just enough. So if you've made it this far to see what kind of ridiculous idea this is turning into, thanks for hanging out. It's really cool. If you haven't been here before, you've probably noticed that I'm doing things in real time, which means I don't like to edit my videos for time. I leave that up to you if you want to fast forward or pause it. So all that's up to you. That's not laziness, it's just I prefer if some people want to see that, you know, I'm not AI, for example, which I'm not really a fan of. Then you can say, yeah, well, it's got to see me do this in real time. It wasn't a machine that spit this out. We will actually get to the point where having somebody draw a picture will just be kind of a silly idea anyway, as it seems. I hope not. But it's just, it's so strange. The AI world. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Now I can be crafty, and I didn't save room for it. But the chain idea that I have would be more of a motorcycle chain. It'd be interesting, and I could put that back through. Let's say I just use like whiteout, for example, and I would make a chain. Maybe it could loop around the shoulder here or something like that, but decided not to because I don't want to spend 3 hours in one video. I could, and maybe I will come back to this particular drawing and see what happens, but oh, we'll see. So I'm just scratching in a little bit more for the stuff that isn't necessarily going to be illuminated by the flaming head. There's a name for this sort of style where you have it kind of set up this way. It's not called postcarding or something like that, but there's a funny name for doing that. Okay. Try to trick in a couple of other little details. As I said, it's going to be kind of a mostly kind of whited out from the heat. Let's take a quick little peek at this. We'll let it come to an end here in a moment. Okay. Let's go back out. I think that's going to be it for the first part of this concept. I don't know if we need to go into that much more detail with this. What I'll probably do is I may revisit this just to put in the Goose Rider chain. So I think that's a separate entity anyway. All right. Folks, thanks for hanging out if you've stuck it out this long with this thing. And hopefully we'll see hopefully at some point in the near future, and see what else we can do with this. All right. Ciao for now.